Hey guys, some stupid sketch guy here. Today's Halloween special is going to be on something that everyone has dealt with: nightmares. Nightmares tell us something about ourselves. They tell us our deepest, darkest fears. So, I might as well tackle it for Halloween. So, I asked you guys to share me some scary dreams. Let's see what you submitted. So, we'll start with some pretty short dreams. The first one is by Talon's Productions, who had a dream once that he was being chased by Minecraft experience orbs in his backyard. Pretty cool. The other one is by Dusty Gecko, which is also pretty short, because he had a dream where he was on a school trip and we all decided to commit mass suicide off a diving board into an empty pool, and he remembers not wanting to jump off as he watched his teachers and all his friends jump and die. Continuing with the short nightmares, we have a short nightmare by Error Fox Nerd. She submitted two, but I decided to go with the better of the two. This one is very simple, where she had a dream about a cannibal who kidnapped her and her sister, and then murdered the heck out of her sister. But luckily she got out alive. Ouch. Continuing forward, we have a submission by Jimzilla05, who said that this nightmare traumatized him, and that the dream was about him being at his house, but something was wrong. And that was not just a nightmare, it felt like torture. He was stuck in a dream where it was haunted by the devil and two other demonic spirits. You could feel the negativity, and even the lighting seemed like it belonged to hell. I felt a pain inside me and would cry. I swear, I probably cried in real life while I was sleeping. The horrific thing was seeing, or at least knowing, that the ones I loved and cared about would die and go to hell. Getting out of this nightmare felt like the biggest relief. Most people may not take it seriously, but it made me not want to go to sleep for days. I still never feel safe when sleeping. Well, sweet dreams then. From the Paleo Pit Crew server, we have a dream from Sabertoothed Cat Girl, who dreamt a long time ago that she and her family and grandparents had driven to some stranger's house in the middle of the night to check out a truck for sale. I had to stay in the van while they went out and inspected it, but suddenly they rushed back in and were worried. They drove away super quickly and looked behind us and saw the truck chasing after us. It wouldn't go away, so my dad just slammed down the gas pedal and outsped the truck at scary high speeds. We eventually got home and went to the fridge to get a soda. Instead of drinking it, I poured the soda on my face and then woke up as soon as it hit my eyes. Thank goodness you poured that Coke. Alright, this one is a bit longer, submitted by Sprice211. So he once had a dream when he was younger that he was in his room and he'd regularly get into his toy bin with all his stuffed animals and hide in them. In this particular dream, he was in this toy bin and it was in the dark for some reason. Then a small light appeared that lit up the room, and a silhouette of a velociraptor appeared. At this point, he was in total shock in the dream world and in real life. Then another raptor appeared, and then another, and he soon began to murmur something like that they're not alive and they're extinct, over and over again to try and calm himself down. Then he tried to hide by digging into the stuffed animals, but once he started to dig, he heard chirps and calls coming from behind him. He dug faster and faster through the stuffed animals, but it wasn't making progress. Then he reached the bottom of the bin, and there was a small door. He opened it thinking it would lead to a safe location. Instead, another velociraptor burst through the door, grabbed by his face with its mouth, and he could feel every tooth digging in, even though it was a dream. He started screaming for his mom and dad to no avail. The other raptors then pounced on him, and he awoke, sweating, shivering, and crying. And he didn't watch JP before bed ever again. Honestly, I don't know what you're talking about, man. I love dreaming about JP right as I go to bed.
At no expense.
Continuing forward, we have a story by Eris, who said that she once had a dream that she was in a basement wandering around and listening to a voice telling her what to do. After a while, she got fed up and started hitting the door open, and when the door finally opened, she found the remains of her own body. Ouch. So she started running down the street, finding more and more clues of her own death. She saw people crying and melting at the sight. She saw her friends wandering around the streets crying and wondering who killed her. She walks back to her house to find a strange woman sitting at the dining table. She sat next to her and asked who the hell she was. She said she was the future, and then tore the skin off her head and started screaming at the top of her lungs. So she tried to run away, but she was stopped by the woman, who said at 67 years, she'll tell her last joke. Then she vanished away, woke up after wondering if that's when she would die or tell her last joke. I hope that's not the case, because I want you to tell jokes till the end of time. You are probably the funniest woman I know. But now, on a different note, it's time to get back to those scary dreams, and this one is the most terrifying dream that my best friend Zufan ever had. And it was him being surrounded by the most terrifying creatures ever. They were like dinosaurs, but distorted and deformed in terrifying ways, and there was one that looked like a T-Rex, but its legs were horribly deformed, and a sauropod with its neck bent in a horrible way, and a lot more creatures. While that doesn't paint me the best picture, that's probably because a lot of dreams are incredibly blurry, and I have a feeling that the deformed T-Rex legs thing is a metaphor for yourself because you were afraid of your own body. But that's just a guess. And last of all, we have a dream by my good friend King Kaiju, who said that last night he had a dream that he is still terrified of and somewhat uncomfortable sharing, but he'll do it because, well, why not? So he was in a car, and he remembers it was with someone, but he wasn't sure who exactly. Anyway, he went inside a garage, not even out of a house yet, and from somewhere he didn't remember, these two people appeared in the car, and he distinctly remembers they looked or acted like children. Anyway, they seemed sad, and they had with them these things they were trying to sell. And he was not sure why, but he just wanted them to get out of the car. So he repeatedly told them to get out, but they didn't listen. So he's sure exactly how he did it, but he's not sure exactly how he did it. But they finally left, leaving whatever they were trying to sell in the car. He almost drove off without them. Wait, you can drive? But he saw one of the two people crying and decided to give the guy half of the things he was trying to sell, and he drove off. I'm not sure why that's scary, but there must have been something really unnerving about those people. Alright, now before you go, I have decided to add one last dream. This dream is a nightmare that I personally have had since I was 5 years old, and every year I at least get it once. And because of that, it is by far the scariest and my most reoccurring nightmare. It's so simple, yet it's so scary, and that's why I tried to recreate it with help from my brother. Here is how that recreation went, and I will tell you how this dream goes. Now, every single time I have this dream, the setup is exactly the same. It's nighttime, and I am all alone, wandering my hallway. And for some reason, I always have to move forward. And the more I move around, the more dread that goes through my body. And you'd think that I would stop moving, but by dream logic, I just can't. And then my body's completely paralyzed. I'm just stuck there, stiff. And then I hear footsteps. And then, Happy Halloween.